Well, it finally happened. The audience and fans get to give their say to films and TV and entertainment alike. After all, when the dawn of the internet, fans could talk to other people from the other side of the world about their displeasure for one thing or another thing, to how they love things, and kind of grow communities, and forums really were like that. But of course, in this modern day and age, when I guess the companies don't get the reaction that they wanted, or a positive reaction, it does get shut down. Because these days there's a lot of gatekeepers with these big websites, people who want to drive an actual narrative, or they just they don't kind of think the same way as this hive mind thinking as some other people are in these journalistic websites. They don't want them to have their say and their sway, and that's a real big problem. Because recently Rotten Tomatoes took off their wanted to see audience score. It doesn't show you your likes or dislikes. It only just shows how much users are interested in it. So it doesn't give you a percentage. Very much like what happened to Netflix, getting rid of the positive or down-rated ratings when Amy Schumer's special completely and utterly tanked. Which is really kind of interesting, because you hear a lot of talks about YouTube getting rid of completely the downvote button. And then, it's kind of crazy, because even the audience score, or I mean, not really the audience score, but the 1-2-C score, is only something that's really valid before the film actually comes out. It's not something that is kind of really permanently there. It gets replaced to the audience score later on, because they actually get to see the film. Because the whole thing with this day and age is because the whole audience score and hype of 1-2-C, it is hype factor. And that's the way to not only sell these tickets and make a lot of money, but it's also trying to keep the conversation going. Since every big YouTube and, since every big YouTube comic book and film TV show out there, like on YouTube, and of course I won't name them, but I think you know who they are. There's a lot of them out there. Ones with like a few 100,000 subscribers will never really truly say anything bad about certain films or films made by certain businesses. And I think mostly because of this is either they basically complicit in their message of what they want to portray in the film. I've seen many films get trashed because it doesn't follow the agenda that they want to follow. For example, a film, Death Wish, that came out, remake that came out in 2018, directed by Eli Roth. I think it's a pretty solid film, like a 7 out of 10. However, these people, a lot of journalists out there have downvoted the film and said it was a really bad film just because it promotes gun violence, or that's how they see it. And basically, it's this one big message. It's kind of like Gamergate all over again, in a sense where there's these journalists who have this hive mind thinking, and they refuse to kind of let everyone else have their say, or they think in the same type of way where they communicate with each other. So they're very much complicit in their message. But another reason is they don't want to say anything bad about some of these films or some businesses, is because they will be burning those bridges with those people. They'll be losing those exclusive scoops that these big businesses need to strive and survive. And that's what they kind of need. And that's why there seems to be a lot of rise of smaller channels here and there, not on YouTube, but just audiences around the world kind of gathering together and talking about certain things. For example, an example of this is that, and there's actually a video of it, is from a past IGN reviewer named Colin Moriarty, a really great guy. He is a really big fan of Castlevania, and he got asked to review one of their games that was coming out. And he reviewed it quite poorly. It was a badly received game. He didn't really like it, so he gave it a bad score. So when the sequel came out, or a spin-off came out, the whole company, IGN, did not even get a review copy for the next game. And then when they were there at E3, when they were previewing the game, they didn't even, they kind of dodged all their interviews, IGN's interviews, because they got one bad rating of one of their games, because one reviewer didn't like it. So you can kind of see that effect in games media also does happen in film. And if you don't think it happens in film, you are very naive to think so. These people cannot be trusted, not only on their opinions, but also their credibility. There are certain people out there where they do try to keep a less bias as much as possible. And in general, I kind of do believe certain people, most reviewers just say, oh yeah, action was fun and acting was good. But, I do like movie reviewers, for example, who do talk about the cinematography, the editing, the sound editing, things like that. Those people, when they talk about films, I do believe that. But there seems to be a lot of suspicious things that have come out, for example, where a lot of people high in Hollywood seem to be promoting certain movies that aren't that great or just very average films. That's why there seems to be, as I mentioned before, like-minded fans who don't work for those They don't work for those clickbait articles or the recycled, opinionated things over and over again. They're voicing their own objective piece of things, and it's not this very bland, generic thing that you do hear about a lot of these majority of these big websites. For example, we saw that with The Last Jedi. A lot of the hit piece articles with that, where it's Russian bots or it's people spamming it, but these are actual fans and just general people alike. And it seems like Captain Marvel seems to be the same scapegoat, where people would just be blaming trolls or be blaming misogynist people or something like that. Like, for example, I really like Alita Battle Angel. That person's a female. Sure, it's an android, but it's still like played by an actual female, and it's a female-led thing. Doesn't mean I hate the film. I freaking love the film, but you can't use those things anymore. Or even something like Wonder Woman. There's so many examples of it. It just doesn't work, and I think a lot of people know that it's kind of full of shit. But the people downvoting these things are the general large fan base that just want quality films. No agenda pieces, nothing outside the film that will drive fans away. No attacking fans, just a good, solid film. And if you don't deliver a good, solid film, if it's just an average film, we'll tell you about it. It doesn't matter if it is has a female lead or a minority on the lead. It doesn't matter. What matters is a good film. And what we've seen with Captain Marvel, all the trailers look pretty average as well, especially the comments that the Brie Larson has said, for example. I like to base things purely based on the film itself. I will watch Captain Marvel later on, and I will review it, and review it evenly if none of this stuff happened. But it turns me off a lot, and I won't see it first week, second week, maybe even ever, without renting it, just because of those comments. That I will review the movie itself, but giving them my money is a completely different thing, and you always vote for your wallet. That's where it hurts the most. You do see a lot of these articles. You can already tell the Captain Marvel articles that have not only been written out right now, because the money situation of how much it's grossing, it goes down and keeps on going down. But they did the exact same stuff with The Last Jedi, the Ghostbusters reboot, and everything like that. It just shows how complicit the big Hollywood journalist machines are. They are connected with Rotten Tomatoes and things like that, and they do not care about what fans think about their entertainment properties, or they do the whole scapegoat thing of it's not for you, it's not made for you. Yeah, but it's there for everyone to consume anyways. If it's not made for you, then so what? It's a stupid argument anyways. It should be quality top stuff anyways. Why would you make trash stuff? If it was trash stuff for trash people, then they'd try to put it in the mainstream everywhere, make it a very niche thing. Another point is that Rotten Tomatoes, over the years, has said that they don't know the effect of their website. They don't know the effect of people buying tickets or not buying tickets when it comes to their critic scores and audience scores and things like that. They always say, oh yeah, we don't affect DC's numbers, for example. And I think a study that came out last year or the year before that showed that they do actually affect majority of people's buying power of things that they want to buy tickets to and not to see. And I think that these people who do get swayed, it's not me and you. It's not the person who's listening to this video right now or things like that. These people who do get swayed when it comes to seeing movies are the general average normie people who don't follow entertainment media like we do. And they post fake posters of Beetlejuice 2, for example, on my Facebook feed, even though that's never, it's kind of semi being announced, but it's not really happening, and they think it's coming out in 2 years or something. But the audience scores and review scores affect these people, these general audiences. And you can see the effect, and trying to get rid of the audience score, audience participation score, really just shows how afraid they are of a differing opinion from the hive-minded few. Because we do live in an age of fan fulfillment has dropped to the wayside. Before it used to be you always cater to the fans. cater to the large demographic that you get your clicks from, that you get your likes from, that you get your money from, all things like that. But now it seems that no one's really seems interested in it. They have to follow an agenda or push something. You wanted to need the love and care to, like, with all these reboots and things like that. You wanted to care for what followed before and usher it into a new age and pay homage to certain things and really enjoy what came in the past, ushering in something new. Something that hopefully the new Ghostbusters will do, and the Ghostbusters 2016 version did not do. These pieces of entertainment that neglect the majority of fans, it never really works out well for them. We've seen it for the past 3 to 5 years that a lot of this stuff has not worked well if you don't cater for your audience and, basically fans. And since, for example, Brie Larson said, white men need to sit down or they don't like him, all the way to different viewers need to review the film because white men, whatever. It's always about white men, really. But what it really comes down to is just toxic fans. And the big surprise here is, you're attacking majority of your fan base. Majority of your fan base is like, white males or even just males in general, who like this superhero stuff, and they're trying to force something that isn't a natural thing. If people like these things, they'll naturally come to it. You don't have to force an agenda or you have to force a certain way to do things. Fans will come to certain things themselves. They don't have to be forced to it. And I think people hate being talked down to. They just want to be entertained. And it never really works out well for them as well. You just have to make it natural. And so attacking the majority of your fan base does not work well. And I think you can definitely see it with the plummeting sales numbers all the way down to 100 million opening weekend. So it is really quite strange that it is really unbusinesslike. Who are making these decisions? Who are they? What are their agendas? What are their politics? Sapper-like? And why are they choosing to ruin basically just money? Money's good, right? Or do they feel forced to? Is there some sort of weird thing that they're catering to, and they know that they're going to lose money, but they're just doing it for the sake of doing it? I have no idea. Either way, it has turned out to be much bigger than just a Marvel film just looking pretty average and by the numbers. It's only to discriminate the biggest fan base that they have, but also film enthusiasts everywhere. And that's what it really comes down to. Like, Rotten Tomatoes doing this is kind of lost kind of their credibility for this, in a sense of they must be following some sort of orders or something. Because why would they do it just with the cusp end of Captain Marvel? They couldn't have done this for The Last Jedi, for example. They could have done this for all these other things. But for some reason, Captain Marvel seems to be the untouched thing that we can never criticize properly. I thought it was something like Black Panther that couldn't be done like this, but now seems to be Captain Marvel is probably the final nail in the coffin. That big fan bases cannot only not have their say, but film enthusiasts who everywhere cannot also have their say. People who do not work for big corporations, don't work for big film corporations or these big YouTube shows that have guests on here and there. Just the general audience members here and there, they cannot get their say about films anymore because they just think that they're trolls or they just hate something for certain reasons. This is what the majority likes. And that's the way it's going to be. So until next time, I know this is a ranty video. Maybe I'll release more like this, but I still do things like the Pancake Parlay. That's our podcast that we release every single week. And I'll see you guys next time.